Are you humble enough to admit when you're wrong? Now, this doesn't just talk about to yourself, admit you're wrong to yourself, but what about your kids? You feel like you don't have to explain yourself to your kids, or you feel like you always have to be right. You have to show them that you're the leader and you're setting a good example. But what about admitting when you're wrong? What is that setting them up for as far as being humble in life and not knowing that they're perfect and not thinking that they're perfect and they have all the answers? What about with your wife? Are you able with your spouse to admit that you are wrong and be humble enough to come with open hands and grace? It's a hard thing to do, right? Our egos factor in a lot. We're expected to be perfect and have all the answers and have all the solutions and never be wrong. That in itself is very wrong. Set your ego aside. Be humble enough to understand that you're not always going to be right. And it's okay to admit when you're not. One of our core values at Clean Impact is being humble. And being humble is just that, admitting when you're wrong, understand that you don't have all the answers. You're not going to be perfect. You're not always going to have the right solutions to everything. But being humble allows you to have grace, to set aside all these ego and stuff that factors into always having to be right. So an example of this story is most recently, when we were remodeling our bathroom, my wife really wanted heated floors. I was like, man, I don't like hot feet. I don't want sweaty feet when I'm walking around. I don't want heated floors. She talked me into it. And, I reluctantly had the heated floors installed whenever we were doing it. And I got to be honest with you, today, I got out of an ice cold shower this morning and I stepped down on those heated floors and my feet felt wonderful. It was little things like that. So I had to admit to her, I said, babe, this was a really great idea. This is just one example of how being humble and setting your ego aside allows you to bring grace into somebody else's life. She was really happy whenever we told that because it was a point of contention. I didn't want it. She wanted it. Now I realize that it feels very good on my feet. And it was pretty fun to admit to her and be humble that I was wrong and that she was absolutely right and that this was enjoyable. So it's really hard, again, to be humble. But I really, really encourage our team and our family and our community to be able to set our egos aside and to admit when we're wrong, to admit that we have grace and we can always get better once we're humble enough to realize that others have wonderful insights. Others have great ideas and concepts and thought processes. We need to be humble enough to realize that. We need to be humble enough to listen to what they're saying. And most importantly, admit when we're wrong because it feels good. Grace is nice. Hope this helps. Let me know what you guys think. How have you been humble? Give me an example of a story or a time when you had to humble yourself and set your ego aside, admit that you were wrong. It'd be very interesting to hear. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Like our Pam channel and page and do all that fun stuff that they tell you to do. I think it's awesome. You guys have a good day. Enjoy yourselves.